Welcome to Self-Care. What's paranormal got to do with it? Although holistic and alternative healing methods are becoming more and more mainstream, what method is right for you? How do you find a practitioner once you've chosen to explore an alternative therapy? Each week, host Deidre Sanford will explore a different modality with practitioners who will explain their modality and the benefits they and their clients have received through their sessions. Deidre and her guests may also offer live readings during the show and answer any questions you may have. Now, your host of Self-Care, What's Paranormal Got to Do with It? Deidre Sanford.
Good Wednesday morning, Parapeeps. How are you? Welcome back to the September 28th edition of Self-Care. What's Paranormal Got to Do with It? Right here on WLTK-DB. I'm your host, Deidre Sanford. Mary, thanks for popping over to say good morning to us. It's awesome to see you. Diana, welcome to you this morning as well. I'm so excited to have you guys come back and join us again. Everybody else, jump in those comments. Let us know that you're here. And I'm curious to know where you're all logging in from. Give me a clue, will you please? Okay, don't give me a clue. I don't have brain space for figuring out clues at this time of day. How about you just tell me where you're logging in from? So it's middle of the week. Almost over. Good morning, Facebook user. I am curious to know how everybody handled this crazy moon that we just went through. It can be a little stumble block for so many people. So throw those ideas in there. Diana's from Michigan. Heather coming in from Winnipeg. Fantastic. Good morning, Heather. Throw those comments in there for me. Let me know what your favorite self-care is for handling the moons. Everybody gets a little wacky. And what do you do to keep yourself grounded? Keep yourself from getting bombarded with all of the shifts and the energy changes throughout those processes. Today is day 3 officially after the moon. So we should be feeling those tensions and some of that crazy easing up for us. I'm curious to know also, did anybody, Diana, I think you were on with us last week. Did you get a chance to try that salt bath recipe? I know it's a lot of salt, but I'm curious to know if anybody had an opportunity to try it and what the results were. MK, oh, disappeared. There you are. What did you do though to deal with MK, the scatteredness and the sleep issues? So it looks like you're telling us you spent time in nature and time doing some quiet meditation. Those are all fabulous ideas. If those are things you guys haven't tried yet, give it a shot. I may have mentioned last week my favorite tip and trick for myself when I'm feeling a little anxious, a little bit off. Heather goes to exercising. I always rely on my trusty selenite, in addition to, of course, some of the things that you all have mentioned already. Music is a great idea. There are some certain tones, levels, frequencies for music that help us to accomplish many different things too. No essential oils, but you do take a self bath. Awesome. Essential oils aren't, shall we say, essential? Dare I say that? But they can be so helpful. And the two that I had mentioned in particular last week were tea tree oil for its antimicrobial and cleansing properties, and of course, lavender. And we've got somebody coming to join us today that might actually want to chat just briefly about the frequency of lavender and the different frequencies of some of the things that we use in our daily lives that can help us move forward. Binaural beats. MK, that's fantastic. I love that as well. So I'm a geek, just in case you hadn't noticed. I'm a geek. And I'm into all things swag. My WLTK-DB magic mug has arrived. I was so excited. I don't know if y'all saw, I posted it on the Facebook group, threw it under the Keurig and popped in that hot water. And pretty soon, like something kind of paranormal, the station logo showed up on my mug. It was so much fun. Ooh, bubble bath. Yay. Talk about self-care, Diana. You rock, man. That's awesome. Love hearing all of this stuff. And to take that geekdom another level higher, y'all can't see it, but I am wearing my station leggings. And let me tell you, the colors pop. The graphic on the legging is amazing. And of all of the leggings I own, these are the best. It's fall. Look, leggings, hoodies, sweaters, all some of my favorite things just to wear all the time. I used to never go out in public in leggings, but as long as I got a long sweater or a long hoodie, I'm good. That's like my new go-to. And that's kind of part of my new self-care routine is not being stuck in the idea that I have to do my hair perfectly. Because boy, let me tell you, that was ingrained in me almost all my life. Hair's got to be perfect. Makeup's got to be just right. Not too little, not too much for sure. And that's been part of my self-care routine. It's been part of working toward just accepting who I am in most moments. I'll admit this morning I did do a little extra makeup work for the camera and for you all, because otherwise it might be a little bit scary. But self-care, put on something comfortable, allow yourself to relax and allow people to see you in your comfort zone while you're out and about and engaging with everyone. That's today's self-care tip. I usually plan to throw it in at the end, but let's pop it in there at the beginning. Relax, allow yourself to be just a little bit more casual, right? Especially after the things that we have all been through in the last couple of years. I think more of us have learned how important it is to be true to ourselves, to present ourselves as we are. And maybe even we've learned to accept ourselves a little bit more for ourselves, and that doing that is okay. So the reason we're all here today, the reason we're all here for self-care, what's paranormal got to do with it, is to bring alternative healing modalities to the forefront, bring their practitioners in so that we can get to know them, why they do what they do, how they found the modality that they're currently practicing, what style do they use, how do they present. Yes, Diana, exactly. It being casual, being comfortable with yourself is a form of self-care. So I want to get right into that today because I want to give Alison an opportunity to get really to the meat of the subject. So Alison Sahoo began Pranic Healing, which is our topic today. She began Pranic Healing in 2013 and serves as executive director of Pranic Healing Bucks County, which is a 501c3 organization, which I think is incredible. Always giving back, always working with community, and it's mostly at the heart of what we do. She also recently completed a very rigorous Pranic Psychotherapy Certification, and I can't wait to hear about that process. She leads a group of healers who work on COVID patients as part of Project Hope for Healing. She's also a teacher trainer candidate. So she's not stopped working, even though she's achieved this level where she's working with the public and providing assistance for so many people. She continues to work for and on herself so that she's better able to care for those people around her and for herself, I'm sure. She also holds a BS in physics and an MBA, multi-talented, multifaceted. Many years she worked as a market research analyst in healthcare. All right, Parafam, let's give a big warm welcome to Alison Sahoo from Pranic Healing Bucks County. Good morning, Alison.
Good morning, Deirdre. Thank you for that great introduction.
Oh, thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited to be able to share you and your gifts with everybody here today. So tell us how you got started. What got you interested in pranic healing?
Well, I never, ever thought that I would be doing what I'm doing now. Even though when I was a kid, I had a lot of interests, still, my path was sort of mainstream. You go through school, you get a job, you have a family. Doing anything in the alternative or complementary space was just not something that I really was planning on. But life has a way of making things very interesting for us. And about, I would say this family crisis started around 15 years ago.
Mm,
And, I think most families have things, medical things, emotional things. I don't know anyone who has sort of that perfect life where nothing ever happens.
right.
And what happened was, in our family, some things happened,
Sure.
and all the conventional approaches just weren't working. They just weren't. So I started volunteering because I needed to understand how all this worked. I started volunteering at a community organization that was doing a lot in the
Mhm.
addiction recovery field. And I was clocking in around 30 hours a week. And now I was
Volunteering.
still working as a research analyst. I had been self-employed for many years, so I could kind of control my time. And I was doing more and more and more behind the scenes for this one particular organization. And, um, you know, even though there are many resources in the behavioral health and mental health communities, there are some conditions that are just so complicated that they're really hard to treat. So around 2013, I was very open to considering different alternatives. And I went to a healing expo at the end of the year in the fall. And the Pranic Healing speaker said, "Oh yes, Pranic Healing can work on addiction. It's very easy to learn, and it's clinically validated." And I thought, "Oh, really?"
Right.
So I went home. I got books. I started learning, I took classes, and I learned a lot of other things along the way as well, not just pranic healing. I've been
Mhm.
trained in Reiki and reconnective healing and matrix energetics and angelic healing and, quite a few other modalities. I took a lot of classes because I
Yeah.
needed to understand all of this.
Right.
And now I'm focused on pranic healing because I like that it works. I like that it works.
I think it's interesting how so many of us stumble into the things that we begin practicing through some sort of turmoil or upheaval in our lives. We're searching for something different. And, we've talked before on the show about Western medicine absolutely has its place. I don't think, well, I'm real sure that neither one of us, but most of us, I don't think, are completely wholeheartedly rejecting Western medicine, but we understand that there's something that's missing. So, what is it in particular about pranic healing itself and its efficacy that really drew you in and had you plant your feet so firmly? I mean, you're running a 501c3. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It is complementary. Energy
Mhm.
healing is complementary. And one of the things that we tell people, and I think most pranic healers do this, most, if not all, pranic healers do let our clients know that we're not trying to replace the care that
Right.
they're receiving otherwise. I know a lot of pranic healers who are nurses,
Yep.
some who are doctors. One of the 8 global pranic healing masters is an MD. So pranic healing fits very well
Mhm.
within the current system as an additional tool.
Wait, and if I remember correctly, because I did take training for level 1, level 2. I did also take the psychotherapy training. I never went for my certification, and that was like 10 years ago. But if I remember correctly, we have recipes, procedures that we use for specific medical diagnoses. So there's a direct tie, certainly, between bringing the complementary aspect of pranic healing into, or yes, into specific Western medicine diagnoses. The diagnosis is really the jumping off point for many of the aspects and services that our pranic healers are offering, right?
Yeah, it is. And whenever we start working with someone, we always ask, what is the condition? What's the diagnosis?
Mhm.
What does your doctor say? And sometimes there's very detailed information there, and sometimes there isn't. But we always use everything that we can when we begin healing, because as you know, we use protocols.
Right.
We use recipes from the books, for example, from my
Yay, there it is.
healing book.
I carried that thing with me everywhere I went for years. When I traveled, it was always in my suitcase as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because you just, you look up the condition you're working on, toothache. I'm just
Yeah.
turning to a random page here. Eczema. Let's see, gastrointestinal infections. And this happens to be the physical healing book. There's a psychotherapy book as well for emotional conditions. But all of these protocols have been tested and validated. They go
Yep.
step by step. And that was one of the things initially that really appealed to me about pranic healing.
Mhm.
I was not someone who was born super sensitive, and some people are. I mean, some people are born with heightened vision, heightened hearing early on. I wasn't one of those people. I went
Right.
through the school system. I was not someone who had those extra sensory abilities. So being able to look up a protocol, follow the steps, and get a result was really appealing for me.
There's that rewarding moment when someone presents with even just a headache, you know, um, and you say, "Well, gee, can I help you with that? I don't have to touch you, but I'd love to be able to offer that opportunity to you to feel a little bit better, feel a little bit more at peace." And it may take 30, 40 seconds to loosen up that headache and help provide some relief. It may take a little bit longer, but that moment when you see the facial muscles relax and you see the pain dissipate in their eyes, man, there's something so amazingly special about having been able to help someone through facilitating energy to find that level of relief. And I know that, like I said, I know sometimes it doesn't happen in one session, even depending upon the level of severity, or sometimes even how long this issue has been around. Maybe it's chronic, maybe it's acute. And I know those things can also influence the number of sessions it may take before there's a tremendous amount of relief.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about pranic a lot. Clearly, that's what we're here for. But I don't think we've really hit on like the elevator speech about what is pranic healing.
What is pranic healing?
Yeah.
Well, the way I answer that question does depend a lot on who is asking it
Right.
and where they're coming from. Some people want a really deep understanding of how does all this work? How can something possibly work when you don't touch the person's body? You can't see what's going on. You can do it from across the room, across town, across the country, across the planet.
Right.
Their mind just can't sort of comprehend what's going on. And I was there. I was one of those people. So someone like that, you give sort of a more detailed explanation to. And one of the things I love about pranic healing is that explanation is there. Then there are other people that they've tried sort of everything that they have been able to try, they've tried, and they still have their pain, they still have their trauma, they still have this anxiety. That person doesn't really care so much how it works.
Just
They're
fix it.
just like, how do I get it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try it. How do I get it? So it really depends on where the person is coming from. And what I have found is that you're absolutely right. Some people respond very, very quickly,
Mhm.
incredibly quickly. Other people do take longer. A lot of it does depend on, as you said, how long they've had the condition. Are they still in a situation that is sort of exacerbating or reinforcing the condition?
Mhm.
Like if they have a stressful job that they can't leave, that's very different than working on someone who's in a very supportive environment and they just need like a little bit of work. So what is pranic healing? Well, it's a way to feel better physically,
Yay!
emotionally, and mentally.
That's a fantastic, super simple explanation, and it allows for clients or people just learning about pranic healing to utilize their own information that they already carry with them. Good morning, Diet. Thanks for jumping in to see us today. Because we all have a different point of reference, which is exactly what you're saying. Many of us here, since this is a paranormal platform station, many of us here already understand there are some things that are just inexplicable about energy and how it works. And I think we were talking about protocols, recipes, procedures.
Mhm.
I think that's one of the things that really kind of helps separate pranic from a few other things that people might choose to be utilizing, because we're working with the meridian points to an extent, the same as an acupuncturist would work with those meridian points. So your client might come in and say, oh, my left shoulder hurts, and all of a sudden you're working over on their back or on
Mhm.
their belly. How does that all come into play for you as a practitioner when you're working with a client?
Yeah, so we do work with a very detailed energetic anatomy. The meridians, the chakras, also one of the things I love about pranic healing. The the energetic physiology that we work with recognizes a basic system of major chakras, and I think
Mhm.
most people are familiar with those. They're kind of lined up, along the spine, the midline. And then a larger system of minor chakras, like in the palm, the joints,
Yeah.
and then an even larger system of mini chakras,
Right.
much
And your
smaller
toes.
energy centers.
Yeah.
And then it can go even smaller. When we work with the chakras. And the protocols have all been developed with a view towards the functions of the different chakras.
Mhm.
And exactly, certain chakras do things that influence areas of the body somewhere else,
Right. Right.
Um, so, so yeah, it's not unusual for a pranic healer to work at different points on the body, even though the client's issue may be just at one place.
Mhm.
And it's because of the roles of the different chakras.
Very cool. I love how we talk on a big scale about how everything is connected. But what we sometimes don't consider when we're seeking assistance or when we're working with an energy practitioner, um, that same system is reflected within us.
Yes.
Right? As we're talking about the connections between the bigger chakras, the big seven chakras, and the littler chakras on your fingertips and your toes, and how of those things are all related. And I know that a lot of that information is covered in the classes. And the
Mhm.
classes themselves are maybe what, a weekend, right?
Yep.
Intense, like full 8-hour days.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. Yeah, the classes are awesome. You can learn pranic healing from a book. You can.
Right.
And my very first pranic healing book after that expo is this one
Yes.
by Master Co. in California. Fantastic book. But then, I wanted to know more. I wanted to know more, and I wanted to interact with other people who were doing this. I wanted to get a sense of, is what I'm doing right? Is there a better way I could do it? So I started taking classes, and I started becoming more involved in the
Mhm.
pranic healing community, which is vibrant,
Yes.
Um, and yeah, the classes are very special. There is an energy in the classes
Yeah.
that is very powerful, very unique, and you get a lot from taking
Mhm.
classes.
And I understand that the books are available on Amazon. They've been available for quite a while. In fact, the book that you held up earlier with some of the recipes in it is available. But there's nothing like actually being in the energy of the teacher because you learn so much more from simply just being in the space and being that much more energetically connected to the other students in the class, working on demonstrations and practicing specific techniques in that space. You come away with so much more, and it really, I think, enhances the learnings and helps to integrate the learnings and the processes involved in the system. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you're in a class and you start using a technique and you're working on one of the other students and that person says, "Oh, I feel better. My back doesn't hurt anymore." You're going, "I did that?"
Well, and to your point, as you said, when you started doing pranic healing, you weren't a person who could feel or sense energy. So that had to have been very difficult for you to overcome, because some people in the room can feel and sense the energy with which they're working. So even if you can't, as an early practitioner sitting in the class, that validation from your classmates really helps you to understand that, hey, not only does this system really work, but I can work the system to the advantage of someone else. And then by proxy, as I'm going through this process myself and learning and growing as a practitioner and experiencing these energies that I'm working with, I'm also receiving healings and energetic upgrades as I am working through my practice.
Yes, tremendously so, tremendously so. It's very interesting how we as healers benefit even when we work on other people.
Yeah.
We certainly work on ourselves. We work on ourselves all the time. It's really handy just to be able to take care of a little thing before it
No
gets
pun
bigger.
intended.
Yeah, right. But just working on other people, it makes a tremendous difference for us in our own lives.
Yeah.
And I have a great healing story of one person in our group. Um, she took the level 1 class, Basic Pranic Healing, a couple years ago, and she joined one of our healing groups, one of our practice groups, working on people with COVID. After 6 weeks of coming a couple times a week, the arthritis in her hands, which had been, right, completely debilitating. She hadn't been able to make a fist. Her hands were red, her knuckles were swollen, her fingers were a little crooked. I mean, she had real severe arthritis for 20 years. 80% reduction just from working on other people. And 2 years later, she still has that 80% reduction. Her hands are a lot better. She wasn't even trying to work on arthritis. She was just working on other people. So that is not the only story. There are many others.
Yeah.
This is a very amazing thing. It's a very amazing thing.
It's well, actually, I had my own experience, and that's what got me really much more involved with the pranic healing community here, and going on and taking the level 2 class. Is Master Co was in town and doing just kind of the intro workshop that's so informative and amazing, and he had asked the audience to choose someone to be his demonstration for that day. So we had everyone who had back pain stand up. And at the time, this was 12 years ago, I had chronic back pain that was sometimes debilitating. Like I spent a day or two lying on the floor in my living room on my back with my knees up in an ice pack. I couldn't move. I was taking muscle relaxers just to function. And amazingly enough, everyone else who was attending that workshop decided that I was going to be the person on whom he demonstrated that day. And as I said, this was 2011, 2012. My chronic low back problem is 95% gone. I haven't had a major struggle other than, maybe some kind of typical lower back aches and pains from overdoing. And those easily were resolved. So I'm a walking, living testimony to how effective pranic healing itself can be, and how lasting those changes can be as well. I'm also aware that as he was working on me, and as I've worked with clients, I'm sure you can attest to this as well. When we are receiving pranic healing from our practitioner and we're focused on relieving a symptom, pain, a chronic symptom, we also start shifting our thought patterns and the way we process things, the way we approach things. It's not just energy can't really be contained, right? The energy sort of has a mind of its own, like water seeks the lowest level. The energy is just going to flow, and it's going to create a shift in everything that's affiliated with the targeted issue at the time.
Yes, yes, this is true, and it's fascinating. Yeah, sometimes, actually, a lot of the time, there'll be an improvement in something that you're not even working on.
Yeah.
Even though we're using a protocol and we're looking to address a specific issue, a lot of times something else will get better.
It's amazing how all of that once again reflects the bigger picture of we're all connected. And
Yeah.
everything within us is also connected. I've got to interrupt us here just for a minute or two. Hey guys, it's time. Get your fresh tea, get your fresh water. We're going to take a quick break for a station pause. I am Deidre. My guest is Alison. We are on self-care. What's paranormal got to do with it on WLTK-DB.
This is WLTK-DB Talk Radio.
Come see our new station shop for some amazing top quality merchandise. There is something for everyone, like blankets, electronics, clothing, and much more. Head on over to WLTK-DB.com and click shop to show your support by sporting our logo. The WLTK-DB station shop at WLTK-DB.com. Paranormal talk is our business, and business is good. Want to see your video here? Sponsor WLTK-DB Talk Radio and watch us make that happen. With your paid sponsorship of $80, you receive a professional produced audio, video, and banner placement on our station. Not only does your sponsorship air during our live shows, but also replayed on our podcast and heard by hundreds of like-minded people. Visit WLTKDB.com to get started and find out just how hard we work to get you noticed.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.
Hey, welcome back. I was just thinking, I know we've got people from all kinds of different places. I'm in Illinois. Alison, you're out in PA, right? Our viewers are in all kinds of different places. So if any of you have a local, say, metaphysical shop, a local practitioner who might want to jump in and have their own information spread across all of our listener base on WLTK-DB, send them over to WLTKDB.com. You'll find an area on the website about sponsorship, about commercials. The sponsorship includes an ad for the business that's sponsoring us or the practitioner who's sponsoring that day. So check it out, consider it, talk with your local shops and your local practitioners about the idea. It's super cost effective. Not only will those ads run during broadcasts, but when all of these shows go into replays on iHeartRadio, Spotify, via Podbeam on, I don't even know how many channels there. I think it's like 200 on YouTube. Those ads run with those shows. So they don't just run one time and that's it. They're out there for as long as the replays are being broadcast and are made available to everybody. Just a quick thought. Alison, we talked a lot about classes and the recipe book and the basis for most of the procedures that our practitioners are using as they go into work with the client. Tell us about the certification process. Because as I remember, it was a pretty long process and very rigorous.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, so certification in pranic healing is very different from certification in other areas. And it is very much a process of testing and challenging. There are 3 certifications, and each one takes a year to complete. The first one is the Associate Certified Pranic Healer. then the Pranic Healer, and then the Certified Pranic Psychotherapist. The first two focus on physical healing with some emotional healing, and then the third one focuses entirely on emotional healing. All of them have a pretty comprehensive online learning component. So that's like,
Oh, that's new.
yeah, it's online coursework with final exams, homework. So that's like the theoretical component. And then there is the practical component, which are documented healing cases. And that's what really makes the certification rigorous. It's the healing cases. The requirement for each of the three is 25 cases for the first level, 50 cases for the second, and 50 cases for the third. One case is one person.
Yeah.
So, for example, I can't use my husband twice. My husband was one case. Each case is multiple healings.
Mm-hmm.
Each of those healings has to be documented, written up. What's the before situation? What's the after situation? We go through a medical case history. So what's the person's condition? What's the doctor's diagnosis? What medications are they taking? What other conditions do they have that may be contributing to this? It's a real comprehensive analysis of where each person is before the healing and where they are after each healing, showing the before and after. So it's a wonderful program. And along the way, we have mentors. We have senior pranic healers who we meet with, who answer questions, guide us. It's a really fantastic program.
Well, and I think, gosh, when I was involved, I think Shandam was just starting to step up and start running some of those workshops. And I believe he would be like our local major city go-to, if I'm not mistaken, for pranic healers, pranic healing classes, and also all things pranic healing. Okay, I wasn't sure. I was just kind of curious. So if you're in the Chicagoland area, that's probably the person that you would be working with and studying under, who would be running the level 1 and level 2 weekend workshops
in Chicago. Yeah, I'm not really.
Or used to be.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yes, it depends on where you are, because all the classes are taught in person. All the basic classes, level 1, 2, 3, 4, are all taught in person. Then there are other classes that are taught online, you know, after someone sort of has the initial skills and techniques. I'm not familiar with all the different areas who teaches. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, yes.
Perfect.
But the other areas, I don't know. Chandan, I know by reputation, which is stellar.
Yes, well, he is stellar.
He's his classes.
Quite amazing. He would walk into a room where Master Co was teaching, and you could just feel that he'd entered the room, and the two of their energies would just beautifully mix and infuse the room with all of the teachings and the calm. And it was really quite amazing to see those two stepping in and out of the same teaching roles.
Yeah.
And I think Shandam was just starting to step into some of those roles and run workshops. So it was really amazing to see how those two worked together and blended. And I know you guys, we keep talking about, or we've mentioned several times now, Master Co. Y'all might know Master Co if you follow Tony Robbins at all. He spent, I believe it was last year, the whole year, traveling with Tony Robbins, working with him at his big events. And I believe he was also leading the entire audience, thousands of people at a time, in the meditation on twin hearts, which is so integral to the work that our pranic healers are doing for us. Can we talk a little bit about meditation on twin hearts?
Yes, absolutely. And it is integral. It is a healing meditation. It is a meditation that is done, as you know, around the world thousands of times a day by thousands of people. Many people feel better just from doing this meditation. And it's around 20 minutes or so. There are different versions. There's a long version that's, 30 minutes, and then there are short versions as short as 4, 6, 8 minutes. But the 20-minute version is kind of the basic version. Recorded in the voice of the founder of Pranic Healing. And we do this meditation online. Pranic Healing Bucks County does it 3 times a week. We have Zoom groups that get together. And it's so interesting because after each one, we'll ask people, well, how do you feel? How was your experience? And there are so many people, like all the time, every day that we do it. Oh, my back feels a lot better.
Yeah.
I'm so relaxed now. I felt kind of anxious and keyed up, from the day, but now I feel so much better. Really profoundly relaxing and healing.
That's so amazing. I remember, years ago, the first person who ever mentioned Master Choa Kaksui, actually, and Meditation on Twin Hearts had said, get a copy of Meditation on Twin Hearts, do it 3 times a week. And I went to find it, and there are so many versions. Meditation on Twin Hearts with Pranic Self-Healing, Meditation on Twin Hearts with Pranic Psychotherapy. How would you choose if someone were to go looking for a version of Meditation on Twin Hearts to use at home? How would you choose between all of the different variations?
Yeah, I think it would depend a lot on where the person is starting from. Especially if they're not accustomed to meditating regularly, if they don't have a regular meditation practice. I would start with a shorter version, just the standard 20-minute version, or even one of the short ones. I think Master Co has an abridged version that's around 16 minutes on YouTube. The 20-minute CD from Master Choa Kaksui is available on Amazon. I wouldn't do the long 30-minute version.
That can be pretty vigorous. Yeah.
Yeah, I can. We do that on Tuesday nights, actually, in our
Oh, wow,
group.
cool.
And it's a pretty intense experience. Now, if somebody does the shorter version a little bit and, they want to build up, sure, absolutely. But I just wouldn't start with the 30-minute version.
All right. Awesome. I so love that. And while you were listening, while you were speaking, I know I was looking more than just a tad distracted. I was busy pinning the links into our chat conversation. So I posted a link to Pranic Healing buckscounty.com. Tell us about what happens there.
Well, a lot. It's actually hard to fit it all in one website. That's why we got all this social media. We've got the Instagram, we've got a YouTube channel, we've got a couple Facebook groups. And now, of course, we're on Alignable. I feel like there's a few more I'm forgetting. There's a lot. And a lot of this really has accelerated since COVID. During the lockdown, before lockdown, we did a couple meditation healing nights a month at a local spiritual center, meditation on Twin Hearts, and then we did Pranic Healing on anybody who wanted it, which was usually everybody.
Yeah, that was my thing 10 years ago too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
so effective for our people who come visit with us. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great experience. Absolutely. But with lockdown, we went from twice a month to 16 times a month. Yeah, a lot. All on Zoom. And then we continued doing classes. We started offering classes in Eastern Pennsylvania, in Bucks County area, Pennsylvania, in the beginning of 2019. And that continued through 2020, 21. Amazing. We just had one a couple weeks ago here. We have another one. We have an advanced class coming up this coming weekend. So the classes have continued. And as more people have gotten trained, well, when you learn something, it's a good idea to practice. Right? And most people, when they learn something like this, they learn it because they want to use it, because there's something going on in their life or with people they know that they want to use what they're learning in the class. So we have these practice groups. We had one this morning where every Wednesday morning, we work on addictions or unwanted habits. Mm-hmm. And it's surprising, actually, how many things can fit under that. Some healers come and they work on themselves. Some people work on other people. Every Thursday morning, we do a similar group for anxiety healing. And again, some people work on themselves, some people work on others. A couple times a week, we get together and work on COVID patients.
Yes.
So all of those practice groups we do online once people have some pranic healing skills. People who are working on the certifications also join those practice groups.
Mm-hmm.
First level, second level, they come and they work with the group. And we also have started some more in-person events as things have
Good.
opened up.
Good.
So there's really a lot going on right now.
So if someone who was listening to or watching the show right now wanted to try pranic healing as a client, as a receiver of some healing work, would they be able to reach out through the buckscounty.com website and schedule a session, talk with a practitioner? How would that work for them?
Yeah, absolutely. And there are a few ways that they could do that. I do have a professional pranic healing practice, and that information, including my fees and the PayPal, Pay Now buttons, are on pranichealingbuckscounty.com.
Okay.
I will tell you, I'm not inexpensive. I've been
You
doing
got to
this
pay
a
for
long
the
time.
certification and the classes, and yeah.
And look, the crystals are not cheap.
Those are
The
not
crystals
cheap, man. Those are the most amazingly clear quartz crystals I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like they're almost invisible. They're so clear.
Yeah. And we're always learning. And so, yeah, so that is one avenue. And I do have folks that I work with on a regular basis. Some people just want to try it. They want some healing with me. Great.
Yeah.
Happy to do it. There are other routes though. So one thing that I recommend pretty often is on Sunday afternoons, 4:00 Eastern time, we do what we call an evening of pranic healing. We do it on Zoom. It starts with meditation on twin hearts. And then after the meditation, we use breakout rooms for individual sessions with pranic.
I like that idea because you don't have to go through your healing process or healing experience with that practitioner in a huge open format where everyone else can be witness or energetically involved even by accident. That's really awesome. So Sundays at 4:00, you said?
At 4.
By Zoom.
By Zoom. And we do ask for a donation, but it's not my $150 per hour fee.
Yeah.
It's $10 or $20.
So would they be able to sign up through that on or for that? I know like we have our Friday morning that I signed up to join. At least this week. Sometimes my schedule gets crazy. Would they be able to do that on your meetup page?
Yes.
Pranic Healing Bucks County meetup?
Yes.
Okay.
And all of our meditation and healing events are listed on our meetup. You can actually get to the meetup through our website.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, so that's got all of our social media, including meetup, pranichealingbuckscounty.com. And just RSVP to the event that you'd like to come to. The Zoom link will show once you've RSVP'd. And click the Zoom link and you go in, and it's a great experience. Some people come every Sunday. And we have some amazing healing stories, truly amazing healing stories.
Oh, I'm sure you do. And having that sense of community with the regular weekly scheduled times for everyone to get together, even though it's by Zoom, there's still the sense of community that gets built through doing that practice. You guys, if anybody has any questions, throw them in there. Let us know. We have just a few minutes left today in our time together, but I wanted to make sure I got to encourage you all to jump in here and ask some questions. Alison, I know that when I was going to classes and practicing pranic more regularly, we often made sure that we were clearing energies from our hands by using, shall we say, alcohol and lavender oil in a spray bottle. And then there were other techniques that we were able to use once we had all of the systems for pranic healing practice down. But is that still primarily the main thing that a practitioner might do during a session in order to help keep themselves clear of picking up other people's concerns.
It is, and it's important. So there are a few ways that you can clean your hands when you're working on someone during and after. One way, as you mentioned, is the techniques that are used in the class, which I can't divulge. However, there's also these sprays.
Okay,
And
awesome.
yeah, this spray is it was purchased at the Center for Pranic Healing in New Jersey. Master Marilag, one of the 8 Pranic Healing Masters, that's her logo with the M. She makes sprays, and they're wonderful. They're wonderful.
Awesome.
You just spray, and you're energetically cleaner. A lot of people do make them themselves.
Yes.
You can do that as well. But yeah, the sprays are kind of quick and easy, and they're multifunctional.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know they can help clear the space in which you're working or any space that you're hanging out in. Alison, thank you so much for joining us today, or joining me today on WLTK Self-Care. What's paranormal got to do with it? I have so enjoyed our time with you today. Thank you for sharing all of your wisdom and your experience, all things Alison and all things Pranic Healing.
Thank you so much, Deirdre.
Have a fantastic rest of your day. Hey, everybody else, stick around. WLTK-DB.com is going to come back to life later on today. We've got the Psychic Hour with Kelly Brickle starting at 3 p.m. Over the Target with Missy Hart and Nicole Ford at 8. I think that about does it for me. Thank you again for joining. Give us a shout anytime. We love seeing you guys all on the Facebook page. Thank you for helping us talk today about Pranic Healing. We look forward to seeing you next week, October the 5th, when my guest is going to be Danielle Strano from several different places. Right now, she's working pretty heavily with My Psychic Connection. Next week is a free reading show, y'all. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, let them know that we're going to be here doing live readings next week at 10 a.m. on self-care. What's paranormal got to do with it? WLTK-DB.com. Until next week, y'all, stay safe and practice your self-care.